How's it going, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of Shut Up and Talk to Me. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm good. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. That's a good way to introduce ourselves there. I like that.
That's totally organic.
Yeah, that's easy. It's easy. But welcome back to episode 2. We hope you enjoyed episode 1, and we will keep going on with the going-ons. What are you laughing at? He's dying.
Keep going on with the going-ons.
Anyways, we are actually going to quickly start with Pokemon Go for just a minute here.
Just every cast is going to start. They're all Pokemon Go from now on.
No, that's not happening. Anyways, just a little continuity, so we keep everything updated and fun and whatever. I already stopped playing.
Yeah, which is...
I stopped playing it actually the day after we cast it. Like, that's how... Yeah, I don't know.
The second you thought about it, you were like, I'm not going to play this anymore.
Yeah, it's just... It doesn't have depth. Like, I can't find a reason to play it.
No, yeah, like, it sounded to me like the way it's been... You explained it and just kind of stuff I've seen, it's really just kind of go to a place...
It's
bang
grinding.
on your screen. Yeah, it's just grinding,
it's
which is...
pure grinding, and it's like you need 5 million Zubats so you can fucking evolve another Zubat into a Golbat or whatever. I don't know a lot about Pokemon, I'll be honest with you.
Does it work like crafting? Do you like jam a bunch of
no,
Zubats?
You get no.
You put them in an oven and then like you get a bigger Zubat out of it.
So basically you trade them to the professor for a piece of candy.
Oh, good.
And
candies.
then you need like 25 or 50 candies to evolve one of them.
Ugh.
So it's kind of an annoying concept, and I'll be honest, like I really liked the game when it came out because I love the idea of it, but it's not working for me.
There's just nothing that, like, beyond that initial, like, oh, I'm going to get some things.
Beyond the initial, like, yeah, this is cool, I'm finding stuff, and then, like, you realize that you really have to go to, like, urban areas to enjoy the game at all.
Yeah.
You know, I see, like, people from Hollywood or Vegas posting about it, and they're just like, oh, fucking amazing, because they can go anywhere.
Did you see
like, there's Pokestops. There's shit everywhere.
Like every 5 feet.
And the spawn rate in rural areas isn't good.
It's like non-existent.
Yeah.
Even though, which is ironic because the entirety of like Pokemon was all about going to rural areas and picking up.
Yeah, exactly. It's 100% irony. That's a very good point. But, yeah, and I want to say I did make a mistake in the last cast. Like, I made a joke about Japan, like, having the game and, like, what happened over there as far as crime.
Mm-hmm.
The game's not even out in Japan yet. I just assumed because it's a Nintendo game and it's Pokemon that it came out in Japan first. But no, they're waiting till last because they want to get it when it's good.
They want to wait until we've worked out all of the...
And I've heard that there is going to be updates with trading and, fighting.
Well, yeah, hopefully there's going to be something.
But I don't want to wait for that. Like, I just don't care enough.
Right, like, you might as well just wait until it comes out and then go back to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I'll go back to it, though. Because then,
you'll
have that level gap, and that level gap is obnoxious.
Is it? Yeah, so, like, what do you get? I mean, you explained it last time, but I don't even remember. What do you get out of the level? Like, what is the level gap between what
Okay,
trainers
so
do?
The reason for levels that I can find in this game is you unlock stuff at certain levels. So, like, level 5, you got to unlock the ability to battle at gyms. You got to get potions and revives finally because you're going to need those at gyms.
So even if you come back, you just still have to just grind up a bunch of stuff.
Exactly. I'm not going to want to do that. So I'm done with the game, but I got a lot of friends that are still playing and still loving it. And good for them. It's just not my thing.
Well, yeah, so like right after the cast that we did, I mentioned people that didn't even know anything about games were talking about it. They all play it now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
all these
hilarious.
people that just like nothing about games, they aren't gamers, and now they Pokemon. So you left, everybody else joined. It's just you and me now.
That's how it works, yeah.
Alone in the world, not playing Pokemon.
But I'm not going to be bitter about it. And that's what I see a lot on social media is people being really bitter about, like, people enjoying a game. And it's like, I'm one of the people that you'll meet on social media where I'm a dick. Like, I don't care. It's just the bottom line. Like, I don't care what people think of what I say.
Mm-hmm.
I just express my opinion, and if you don't like it, I don't give a shit. But I will defend people that, like, if you're being an asshole for absolutely no reason, like, well, you go get a life. Like, and it's like, at least they're outside, like, walk around exploring stuff that maybe they would never do before.
Even not even that, like, just they're doing a thing they enjoy that doesn't really hurt anybody.
Leave them alone, yeah. I mean, if it hurts hurts anybody, we're gonna find out as crime rates rise
but that's
throughout
like
the world.
But like the vast majority of users are just going out and they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like who cares? Like just
exactly.
I mean, granted, there's probably a bunch of annoying people out there that just say nothing but Pokemon Go stuff.
Let people enjoy what they enjoy.
But don't worry, in a couple months, everybody will get over it. And
yeah, the player base is like no matter what anyone thinks, the player base will dramatically drop here pretty soon. That's how I feel about it.
No, yeah, and so I was gonna. Like, Niantic, the company that makes it, the last game that they made was Ingress. I talked about that last time.
Yeah.
And they actually... Like, that was... Like, the exact same thing happened to me and my circle of friends at the time. Was, like, I heard a bunch of people when Ingress came out, they were like, oh, this is really cool in this thing, and they were all playing it, and then about a month later, I don't think I ever heard... Like, I completely forgot that it existed until we looked up stuff about Pokemon
Ingress
Go.
still does have a pretty deep player base, and I actually joined it. So
Did you?
I'm playing Ingress a little bit. I love the idea of it, and how you can actually communicate with people and stuff like that, and, and you can do fun stuff in that game that you can't do in Go yet.
Yeah, so you're actually playing it now. Is it, because I remember when it first came out, it really sounded like the same as Pokemon Go to me on the, like, depth scale. Like, it was, when it originally came out, it was like, you just go places and do stuff.
It does not have much depth. No.
Okay,
but at least you don't have to, like, you don't have to worry about collecting 30 or 40 of these guys.
You're not grinding everything up.
No, it's not a grind fest at all. Like, that's the part that they get rid of.
It's way more social. Like, you just go out and you do a thing, and you just see some people like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah, you meet people playing Ingress, and you're like, oh, crap, you're playing Ingress and you're not playing Go? This is amazing. There's 45 people around us that are playing Go, and you're playing Ingress. Like, nice to meet you. You know what I mean? So, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
But that's all I have to say on Pokemon Go right now. Do you have anything else?
No, that's
okay.
I don't remember what that is.
Let's move on. I'm done with that
that's
game.
Enough of that.
Okay. So we wanted to kind of go back on and talk about. We touched on a subject last week. We got squeaky chairs, folks.
They're all
tonight.
WD-40 next week.
Yeah. But we wanted to go back and we did touch on something called the decline of the main character.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on about that a little bit?
Do I want to? Well, so you started in on it last week, and then I'm pretty sure it was me that just derailed the hell out of it. And then we went,
So you need to fix it. So go.
So Chris brought up this idea, the decline of the main character, in which there's a lot of media now, like stories, where instead of having like a really central main character or two, there's kind of a collection of main characters, or even not even just a collection of characters who all have similar amounts of like depth and importance to the story.
Right.
And like a lot of media is kind of going in is picking up on this trend right now, and we're ending up with lots of shows that don't really have like flagship characters, or if they do, it's more of just a audience like grabs onto a character, like what Tyrion Lannister, Game of Thrones.
Right.
Like, I know, like, a lot of people love him, but he's not the main character.
No, he's just a really enjoyable, lovable character.
Yeah.
With that said, I only watched a couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, and then I don't know. It's one of those shows where, like, you really need to be invested in it to really enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's, like, I heard somebody recently, or somebody on Twitter said recently, like, that they felt like, the first few seasons were really great, and now it's still great, but it's not really... Like, you just have to kind of want to be there anymore.
That's kind of where I got to with it. But with that said, Game of Thrones is a show that kind of kills our decline of the main character theory, where it revolves around, like, 40 main characters.
Yeah.
And it works, and people love it. It's a smash hit. There's no arguing that. It just works. Big time.
And so I made up a theory since the last podcast of like kind of why that works, or I have an idea of why that might work.
Yeah.
Is when you have, because the Game of Thrones characters, I've seen one episode.
Okay.
And like season whatever they're in now, like it was a really recent episode, so I have no context for anything that's happening, and I was watching, I was just like, man, this is really engaging. Like I really did like it. I just have no idea what's happening, and like I was like thinking about the characters, and if you have like this huge collection of characters and they're all like relatively like of similar importance, but they're all like wildly different characters with lots of different attitudes and worldviews, then you actually give your audience a chance to like they can pick which character they want to engage with.
Yeah.
Like, so you have this wide array of characters, and then because they're all important, nobody feels like, oh, this character that I like is like this background character, and it sucks because they only get like a minute of screen time every now and then. Now they've got...
Right, like Littlefinger or something, whereas... And the opposite of that would be like Tyrion, like you said, or Jon Snow, or these much more centralized characters that are still alive somehow in the show. Which is that's one thing I love about Game of Thrones. They just kill whoever the hell they want,
everybody,
and it's great. But with that said, like I do need to get back to it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about your theory on it.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like not even less that it's a theory, just an idea of one reason why it might be so popular to have.
That makes sense.
Because you said you watched Walking Dead. Was Walking Dead, does that have a main protagonist, or does that
technically,
have
yes.
Yeah, technically, but does it have pretty deep other characters?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Like as soon as so Rick is the main protagonist of The Walking Dead, and he's like. It's kind of hard to explain his character, and I'm not going to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
But he is he was a cop before everything happened. He wakes up, in a hospital. That's how the show starts. It's him just waking up in a hospital, and it's the end of the world. So as he meets people along the way, he finds his son, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And his wife. And as he meets people along the way, they almost instantly become their own main characters.
Okay.
They add depth to them, like instantly,
right away, and consistently and constantly. Like they are, like once they become part of the story.
Yeah, generally once they become part of the story, you're gonna see a chunk of that character per episode.
Okay.
No matter what, almost. You can say that about any show. With that said, I mean, these shows are both still major successes. Do you think like the main character, as we put it, is a necessary thing still?
So, I don't want to... I feel like necessary is not a reasonable way to, like, term the question. Is, like, there's always going to be...
Refocus it.
Yeah, well, so, like, I think... Well, no, I guess necessary is kind of right. Like, I think we don't need every story to have singular focal points that you kind of expect everybody to focus on. I think we've reached a point as a society, and for whatever reason, people can now... They'll be happy with this huge, sprawling universe with all kinds of, like, characters, and we don't need to have a main character, but there's still, like there's always going to be a place for it. I don't think that's ever going to... We're never going to stop telling stories about single or very, very small groups of people.
Right, because it works, and, I mean, people are interested in that kind of shit. That's one way to look at it, for sure.
Yeah.
It obviously leads to how your plot development works. Mr. Robot is a new show to me, and I binge-watched the hell out of it.
Just since last week.
We talked about... Didn't we touch on it last week or anything? Or we
talked
about it afterwards?
I think we talked about it afterwards.
We talked about it afterwards, and this show... I mean, do we want to get into this show? I kind of do, just to get it over with. But
okay, yeah.
But, I mean, I think as far as plot development goes, Mr. Robot succeeds in this main central character kind of path. I have to say with Mr. Robot, I love it. I love it. What?
I have to say, I love it.
I love it. Like, the ideas behind it are fantastic. With that said, I love the pilot more than any other episode.
See, so, like... I'm going to have a little trouble talking about this end of Mr. Robot with you because I watched the season 1 when it was new and have not gone back and rewatched it, so it's all real dim in there.
Right. Well, one of the main focal points I had about that was that he has that interaction at the very beginning of the episode with the Indian gentleman in his coffee shop. And he tells him in person that he took him down.
I remember.
That he hacked him, and he's like, "Your life is done. Like, I'm out." And you're just like, "I love this character. I love him."
Like he's like Robin Hood, show-offy kind of.
And I kind of wanted them to go on with that, but as you start going through, you realize that this guy is kind of losing his mind. Like he really is. He's. I mean, and. They allude to that plenty of times. He's with his psychiatrist constantly,
And then the further it goes, it's less of an illusion and more of just a... It's kind of just losing his mind.
It more starts to parallel Fight Club big time.
Yeah. So that's...
So I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm like, really, guys? Like, it really... I don't know if you guys have seen Mr. Robot, but it really parallels Fight Club in a lot of ways.
It really... More than draws it. Yeah, parallel is just the right word. It's going down the same track, just with a different train.
Yeah.
And it's... I like it. I think it actually worked, because I really loved Fight Club.
Well, yeah, so did I.
Yeah. But I think this uses, like, those same ideas from Fight Club, but it uses them in a really great way. It's not trying to be Fight Club, and it's not trying to, it's not trying to directly, like, hey, look, we're being Fight Club. It's not trying to, like, ride on Fight Club's coattails. Right. It is its own thing. Like, they took the ideas in one story and, like, pulled out the stuff that was interesting and are making their own story around it. And I like it. I think it's actually pretty good.
So you have that, the whole Fight Club thing, and then you have what I call, like, the anonymous concept. Whereas, like, they basically do have their own hacktivist type of thing that parallels Anonymous.
Yeah.
In its own ways. Like,
they wear the masks.
It's a little more hardcore, but yeah, they wear masks. I'm not sure what these masks are from.
I think, I assume it's just
it at one point, maybe not.
No, I don't remember if they mentioned it. I think it's just something they kind of made up, just
because they wanted
just because, like, hey, we need the Guy Fawkes mask, but we don't want to, like, pay whoever owns the rights for the Guy Fawkes mask.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. But, I mean, it's cool how they use that. I think it's a little more hardcore than what Anonymous is. You know, Anonymous is more like, it's more for trolling almost, yet they
got some pretty hardcore
They do get some stuff done. I mean, Operation Payback and stuff like that was pretty big. They went after Scientology pretty hard. But, there was even, like, a section of Anonymous that went off and became LulzSec. And that was all about the lulz. It was all about making everything was humorous. This is fun. This is for trolling. Well, yeah, because Anonymous was getting too serious for people.
Well, that's like, in a lot of... Well, it's just... I really don't know that much about Anonymous. I don't want to be like...
I don't know a ton.
I don't want to say anything wrong and fucking call them down on me.
Yeah.
But it seems kind of like real world, like you have Anonymous, and there's a bunch of people that associate with it that are not necessarily...
Right.
That aren't necessarily part of Anonymous, and that kind of is what happens to an extent in Mr. Robot. Like, the main group of characters aren't necessarily like, oh, we're totally this group. But they definitely associate with it.
I wanted to mention that, because the main group of characters, like the main hackers...
Yeah, okay, yeah. So
they don't really draw the Anonymous... It seems like they don't give a damn about the Anonymous type of stuff, and I keep calling it Anonymous. What's it called in this show?
F Society.
F Society.
There we go. We should probably use what it's called.
Which is a good name. Well, we talked so much about the Anonymous parallels, but yeah, F Society in this, I really think that, like, the main hackers in it, they don't give a crap about the F Society stuff. They just want to see their accomplishments of what happened.
You're right, like, so they do their own thing, and then every now and then they do the videos.
Yeah,
with the
they do the videos, and with that said, they do make it very obvious who is making each video. I don't know if you've noticed that throughout the series, but in each you can hear the voice of the actor if you really focus on it. I might just be a hardcore fucking nerd.
It's, you know what?
But I'm like, hey, that's Rami Malek. Hey, that's Kristen Slater. Hey, that's what's her name? You know, like,
yeah, like I do remember they had different voices, but I don't remember really putting it together with anybody.
I did right away.
So,
I was like, hey, it's Rami. Okay, it's Elliot, the main character. Okay. With that said, I do want to talk on We're going to talk Mr. Robot quite a bit in this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be our focal point for this episode.
yeah, this is our Pokemon Go of episode 2. We really didn't want to say that. Okay. The visual style of the show.
Dude, I love it. So
it's fantastic.
So when I was, like, introduced to the show, like, I watched the first episode in about 5 minutes, and I was like, man.
Hold on, real quick. How were you introduced to it?
My sister actually told me to watch it.
Your sister? Okay.
Yeah.
I got a buddy, Michael, that told me to watch it. I saw him posting about it, like, a lot. And I'm like, man, there has to be something. Okay, I'm missing something.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's great.
But anyways, like, I got about 5 minutes into the first episode, and like, I was just like, I love this visual style. It's so perfect, because it's like, characters aren't they're not in the center of the screen. they're not. It's not like they're not doing the 2/3 rule, but they do like it. Like they use architecture so well and lighting so well, and it gives every character this kind of weird, off-putting feeling, while at the same time you do get a really great sense for the character and the environment they're in. It really makes things feel really big around them. Like it's like I just love it. It hits everything so well. Like it conveys so much information by just being like a still shot of a person talking with some shit in the background. Yeah,
a big part that I noticed that with was when he meets Tyrell for the first time when he's at his desk. Mm-hmm. Tyrell comes up and he's like, "Oh, you're a nerd too." Like, I didn't know.
Like they talk about like Linux.
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't know anyone else used Linux." Like he says it in his head, and then he gets called in like at the end of the episode into Tyrell's like group with all these lawyers. I think they are.
That's right. Yeah. No, it was just like the
But it's like Tyrell at the middle of this desk, but the way it's shot is so beautiful, and like it's perfect. And there's a lot of scenes where you know what character it is, but the character's blurry, and for no reason. But it helps. It helps move the story along, and it keeps you really engaged. With all that said, I mean, there was times where I kind of dropped off a little bit. I was just kind of like, I don't like what they're doing right now. You know?
But like visually or just
plot-wise, you know.
Yeah, so that was
visually. I think it's fantastic throughout, and I think that's why it's winning Emmys and getting, or at least getting nominated.
That's certainly definitely a part of it.
Yeah. So I mean, there was definitely plot points where I just don't care. Like, and that happens, I think, in every show. Or almost every show.
You're gonna have...
But when it's something you start to really love and like it starts to anger you. You're like, why?
What?
Like, why is this character still doing this? Like, you know?
So... I want to derail this, but I don't want to derail this. So I'll derail something else later.
You're good.
But yeah, like, so there's definitely... You're gonna have that, especially, like, we're talking about the decline of the main character and just having... So even though this show is really focused on Elliot and what's the lady's name?
The other hacker.
I don't want to.
Darlene.
There we go. I don't want to spoil.
You think it's really focused on her?
Well, no. I'm not saying it's like it's not that it's focused on her, but her and Angela and Christian Slater's character and like there's a couple of like they get a decent amount of time. There are a decent piece of this story. It's not super hyper focused on Elliot.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, so it's because it's not focused on, but because these other characters have such large pieces of the plot, and they are such different characters with such different stories going on, like it's kind of inevitable that there is going to be kind of large chunks that you're just not engaged with if you don't like those characters or what's happening to them.
Exactly. So with me, that character is definitely Angela. Like, I don't think they developed her character enough for my liking to care what she's doing, especially right now at the beginning of season 2, which just launched, basically.
Yeah, like 2 weeks
ago. 2
ago.
episodes in, yeah.
Which, and I disagree with you, because I actually...
Yeah, and I would like to hear, like, what the hell there is to like about this character, because she is, I mean, she's at this point now where she kind of doesn't give a shit. Like, that's how I feel about her, like...
I wouldn't say she doesn't give a shit, but she's
just kind of dropped off, and she's just like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Which I think is the exact opposite of giving a shit. So I think... I said it, right now they're doing a lot of world building, and not a lot of like world payoff. Like there's not a lot of things happening in the story right now that you're just like, oh, that was awesome. It's a lot of like, okay, this is where this character's at right now, and this is what's going on. And I think, because I don't know where they're going to go, and we're not going to speculate on that. That's not what we're going to do in this podcast.
Not at all.
Because I don't know where they're going to go, I think they could, depending on where they do go with it, I think they're actually doing a lot of really great world building with her character and how she used to really care and used to put a lot of effort in and was like really just working hard for stuff.
And now she's just a robot.
Which,
pardon the pun, that's going to happen a couple of times in the show.
Probably. She was putting a lot of effort in, and I think if you look at like what happened to her in her relationships with people and how that effort turned out, it kind of makes complete sense that she's just kind of like, screw everybody. Everybody just kind of blew me off, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Do you think the focal of that is really Ollie's character, like her boyfriend or whatever.
Who?
Really?
Ollie?
Her boyfriend, yeah, the one that like he was banging that other chick, and like he got caught, he got busted. And remember, there's that rapper dude he actually works for like Darknet or whoever the guys are, the Chinese hackers. And he gives him the disc.
That's right. Okay, yeah, okay. The other guy that worked at...
man.
I told you I was dim on season 1.
Yeah, he also works...
No, he worked at the security company.
He's trying to buddy with Elliot because he knows that Angela was like... They were childhood friends or whatever.
Yeah, and Elliot can't stand him. And okay, yeah. Okay, it's been a year. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, so... What was the question about him?
Well, basically, I mean, do you think a lot of that was mainly him? Like, as to why she's like that right now? Like,
well, no, so, because a lot of it was also Elliot. Because Elliot, if you remember, Elliot, for the whole first season, was just like, she was like, can we hang out? Can we do stuff? And he was just like, oh, I got this other stuff to do. Like, he was constantly...
was like one time I really remember where she's trying to hang out with him. They're trying. She brings over like a DVD, and his girlfriend / drug dealer is like passed out naked on the bed, and she's like, I guess we'll do this some other time.
Yeah, okay, so...
But they never really do that again, but she does get annoyed, or she notices that Elliot is losing his mind.
Distancing himself and falling apart.
He's distancing himself on purpose because he's falling apart internally.
Okay, so then I guess my connection to her comes more from the imaginary story that I built into her, that I just kind of...
Okay.
Like the because you said they didn't develop her enough, and right. I guess it sounds like I just kind of filled in some blanks in my own head and kind of extrapolated things.
Which is easy to do, yeah.
No, yeah, from the limited interaction she had and with Elliot and with other characters and with the story, I kind of just extrapolated like that she was feeling more and more ostracized and left out and alone and disconnect from everybody, and not through their actions and not through hers. And I actually thought that was I liked that plot point.
That's a good point. I didn't really look at it like that, but that is a good point. I can't remember exactly the joke that her lawyer told her, because it wasn't really... It starts off as a joke. It's like, she was like, hey, a man and a guy walk into a bar. Because she's dismissing her lawyer, like, or this...
So this is in season 2 when this happens.
Yeah, it's right at the beginning.
Angela has just burned the bridge that she has with like the one person she was still connected to from the first season. And they tell a joke, and I'm trying to remember what the joke was too.
But it was so the lawyer tells the joke.
Yeah.
And she basically says that, like, if you're on your own, like, you're fucked. Like, you're burning all your bridges. Like,
you burned all your bridges, and if you're gonna go be part of the system and just happily be part of the system, then, like, it doesn't matter what reasons you have, you're totally just part of the system.
Which, and with you saying that, that's what makes me think that's what the focus of season 2 is going to be. Is Elliot is going to come out of this, because he's really in a funk in the first. He's really lost it. Like,
he's super disconnect from everything.
He's seeing shit all the time. He's changed his life completely. He has no computer, nothing. He lives with his mom again. It's just, he's done. He's lost it. And I can kind of relate. I've had some issues in my life, but I feel like that's where they're going to go, is like, she's going to be really into the system, and he's either going to use her, or he's going to need her, like, it's going to focus on him, like, getting her out of the system.
Or maybe that'll even be, wait, him and what?
Him and Darlene, maybe,
okay,
his sister.
Well, now we're speculating.
Which we weren't going to do, but
it's so hard not to.
It's fun. Like,
yeah, but, like, or they could, because they could totally do it, maybe she's what breaks him out of the funk. Not even that he's rescuers, not even that anything else happened, maybe it's just him, like, oh, wow,
Yep.
We left her out, now she's super deep, and I need to do some stuff. And maybe that's just what'll happen, so...
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about Mr. Robot is the actors that are in this thing.
Okay, yeah.
And whoever casted this show murdered it.
Oh, excellent job. Like,
they absolutely killed it. So Rami Malek, like, not a lot of people know him. He plays the main character, Elliot. I don't know him from anything else besides The Pacific. And The Pacific was basically the Pacific version of Band of Brothers.
Oh, okay.
So Band of Brothers was what are they called?
World War II, right?
Yeah, but it was the fight on the eastern side. You know, they
Pacific Theater?
Yeah, exactly. There's the European theater and the
specific... You're moving your hands around.
Yeah, I'm moving my arms and I'm like, ooh, I hope the podcast people can see this. So the European theater is Band of Brothers, and the Pacific Theater is the Pacific. Now, the Pacific was not nearly as good as Band of Brothers, which is unfortunate, but it's still good and pretty engaging. And Rami Malek's character is one of the most engaging characters on that show, and I was like, I need to see this guy in other stuff. And awesome. Then I forgot about it. Yeah. And then Mr. Robot comes around, and I'm like, oh my god, someone's using him. And I watched the first episode, the pilot, and I'm like, holy crap, they're using him perfectly.
Like, right on the head.
On the nose, like, of what this guy, he has this certain look to him that's very, like, just very sincere.
Yeah, his face.
Suit, like,
he has, like, this, like, angular face, but
very
it's also
angular, yeah.
sincere. He's a wonderful actor, I guess. Like,
he's just a great actor. Christian Slater is in it as well, and there's people that are like, haha, Christian Slater, you know, because he did do some stupid stuff in his career. But when you really boil it down, like, Christian Slater is awesome.
I really like him.
He's one of the best, like, for us growing up, he's one of the best actors I think we've had to go around.
I think,
one of the most fun. He does the most fun stuff.
He's definitely really fun. I don't think he's as versatile as you might want him to be.
No, not at all.
But if you get him in those roles where he plays a, like, cognizant but still kind of crazy guy.
And very cocky. He needs to be a very cocky character.
Yeah, he nails it. Like...
Yeah.
Because, like, the only thing I ever remember him from is the Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner.
Oh god, that movie was so bad.
You're right, but he plays Robin Hood's brother, and like,
okay,
I loved him because he's this kind of like goofy, cocky, like just ridiculous guy, and he's great in that movie.
So if he's directed properly, he's fantastic.
I was saying, if he's in the right role, he's got a good, like, he's wonderful. He's great in Archer.
Yeah, he's amazing in Archer, and you can So the way to find an amazing actor is look who they bring into Archer. Like, honestly, that's what I've gotten to. Like, that show nails characters so perfectly that if they add a character or bring on these extra characters, like Christian Slater's character, they're freaking amazing.
Like, they got a lot of really talented people, and they just give them really great characters to run with.
And their general cast is already insanely talented. And we'll talk about Archer on a different episode.
I don't even know why we don't have that.
I don't know. We're huge Archer fans, and we're huge H. John Benjamin fans. That's not in our list ever. That's getting added tonight.
Yeah.
There's one more actress I want to talk about, and that's the actress that plays Darlene.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. Her name is Carly Chaikin. I think I'm Chaikin, maybe. I'm trying to say that name properly.
Idea.
She was in a show called Suburgatory. I don't know. Did you ever see that?
I've heard the name. Like, I remember the name. I remember coming up a lot. I just never watched it.
It was a great show for, like, a couple of seasons, and then it fell off, and that's why it got canceled, basically.
Yeah.
But this character, she kind of plays, like, the complete opposite of what she was in Suburgatory. Where in Suburgatory, she was, like, this preppy, like, really annoying, like, Valley Girl type character.
Like, you know, that was just,
character. Like, she was the Mean Girls character. She was a bitch, constantly... to the main protagonist, and I can't remember her name, but she's also an amazing actor, the redhead in that show. But she plays Darlene in this, which is Elliot's sister, and she's also a very good hacker. At this point in the show, she's now in control of F Society, as far as I can tell.
She's in control of whatever their F Society adjacent group is. That kind of like, because F Society kind of functions on the same anonymous principle where nobody's really in charge.
Right.
But there are people that do things that steer what they do.
And she's one of the people that wants to see this social change, like, the most out of pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Even over Christian Slater's character, which you gotta watch the show to see how he actually fits into the story. I think that's one of those beautiful parts of the show. Is how Christian Slater's character actually fits into this thing. And that's where we're going to encourage you guys to watch this show. It's absolutely amazing. I don't think we've really ruined too much at all. And if we did, you're going to be so freaking confused when you go to watch it. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, I think we've been just vague enough.
Yeah, we've been just vague enough.
And right now, there's only 12 episodes. So the first season was only 10 episodes.
And
second season's only 2 in right now, so you're not far behind.
It's gonna be 22 total, so it's gonna be a 12-episode season for this season.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I saw that. Yeah. So if you jump in now, you're not far behind.
Not at all. I mean, I caught up. I mean, I really dedicated myself to it, but I caught up in like 2.5 days.
But that's it. But like, even if you did like one every other day, you'll be caught up by like episode 4 of this season. Like,
yeah,
you'll be there.
You can stream it online. You can. I think
it's on demand.
I think Amazon has it. As far as online, because Netflix and Hulu do not have it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure Amazon Prime has it.
I know you can get.
And otherwise, like I streamed it off of like Putlocker or something. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care, and I don't care about legal crap. Whatever. Sue me now. Please don't. But yeah, so Carly Chaikin, like she plays this like really rude, kind of just almost an adolescent character. Like has an adolescent mindset almost.
It's one of the things I kind of don't like about the show is that all of the hackery people are a little stereotypy. Like, really just kind of, like, not so good socially, really into the hacking thing, and kind of just... They're doing their own thing, and we think they're cool, and at the same time...
Now we're finally getting to see one of them, and I can't even remember his name because he's not that important. But he is part of the main cause. He's part of the main hacking group.
The dude with, like, the beard?
Yeah. The chubby dude with the beard.
Yeah,
and the dark hair. He's kind of, like, questioning things now with Darlene a little bit, and she's just like... She's kind of like, fuck off. Like, this is what we're doing. Fuck off, you know? Like,
yeah, and which is totally...
And he's kind of like, like, is he going to be the next one to lead? Because we're already a couple characters down.
Yeah, we've lost some characters for various reasons. Or they just haven't shown up yet, or they
haven't shown up yet. Yeah. Exactly. And obviously, Elliot's not part of S Society right now. He's really doing his own thing. But yeah, so moving on from Mr. Robot.
It's really good. Go watch it.
It's great. Watch it, please, so we can talk about it more and spoil stuff and no one will care. Do you have something you want to go to?
No, I figure we should just totally change gears. We've talked about TV and games.
Yeah, well, we haven't talked too much about games. We talked about Pokemon Go.
Well, okay, so, but, you know, first 2 episodes, we've talked about TV and games however much, and then we got into movies a little bit, so we might as well just fire into music.
Yeah, totally. Where do we start?
Well, so we'll start on Common Ground.
Okay.
You told me, I think, right after the last cast, or a couple days or whatever, you were like, hey, Blink-182's got a new album out.
Right. And I'm not really a Blink-182 fan. I think the album Dude Ranch was really good.
I liked Dude Ranch, too.
The song Damn It is like... It's one of the best, like, pop-punk songs in history. Like, it just is.
Oh, so good. What? Yeah. So it's a really great song. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It reminded me of a story, or it reminded me of a thing that happened in my life. So when that came out, I didn't, like, the internet wasn't really a thing in my life yet.
No.
And I called into the radio station to request them to play that song.
Yeah.
Like, right when it was getting played all the time.
Yeah.
And I, like, distinctly remember, I was like, oh, yeah, can I do Damn It by Blink-182? And the DJ was like, really?
Really?
They were so unhappy that they were like, do you want anything else? Even by that, just anything else. And I was like... No, man, I just want to play. Come on, man. Yeah, like, what else would I request? Like,
it was like the soundtrack of our lives when we were like 12.
Yeah.
And I can go back even younger on a radio DJ story. Like, I was like 9, and I called in. I was living in San Diego, and I called in to a radio station. Mm-hmm. You want to know who the hell I requested? This is how bad my music taste was.
It's gonna be something.
When
great.
I was 9.
Wait, 9. So we're about the same age. So this would have been mid-90s.
But were we into the same stuff?
I don't know. So
So I call into I guess you'd call it an like it's kind of like an Alice 105.9 type station.
Okay. Which means nothing to anybody that doesn't live in Colorado.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's kind of like just like alternative, but like
kind of poppy alternative, more popular, not so much like this is straight up alt. So
yeah, exactly. I asked for a Savage Garden.
Yeah.
So bad, dude. So bad. Like, looking at that band in history now is just like, what the hell was I thinking when I was 9? in that, and then I come back to Earth, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was 9.
Yeah, you were 9. There's
yeah, I had no taste.
If you look
in
at
music.
anything from when you were like, if you just go back like any decade, if you go back 10 years from where you are now, you're like, what was I doing?
I don't know. Like at 13, I discovered Tool, and I haven't let go of that fucking hammer.
Well, there's a few things you can hold on to, but seriously, like think about how you were at 13, just in general. Like there was a lot of attitude you had,
totally.
and things you watched and things you listened to. You're like, this band's never gonna die. This music's going on forever. They're gonna play this for 50 years. Like no, they're not.
Nirvana will be around forever.
Right? Like it's just like. You might grab a few things here and there from any point in your life, but you're never at the end of what you hold on to. So
exactly. So back to Blink-182. We will get to the new album in a second. Another album I really liked, and you reminded me of it, was called, what's that album called? It has the gray cover.
Is it Neighborhoods?
Neighborhoods.
Okay.
Really great album. Like really well focused and just well made.
That was another one that I didn't hear about it until a few months after it came out, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll check this out and listen. I was like, oh, this is pretty great. Like,
yeah.
Like I read some like part of a review, and they were like, oh, it's way more mature and it's more focused, and I was
much
like,
more mature.
I remember listening to it and going, oh yeah, they really have moved their style forward, and they're like, this is great. I like this.
Yeah, I can't stand it when Tom DeLonge sings. I know people are like huge fans of. I
don't mind.
Yeah, I have friends that are huge fans of Blink, and I'm not that big of a fan, so it doesn't affect me too much, but I think his voice is just, it grinds my brain in half, so I hate when they use him as a vocalist. I much prefer Mark Hoppus.
Okay.
But the new album, California, is really good. It's not amazing. It's definitely not. It's not a solid album. Shattering. No, it's just a solid, well-made album. There's some really good tracks on there. San Diego is one of my favorite tracks. It's just a good album. I'm happy that I can enjoy Blink-182. Like it was always like such like a like
it was kind of a mixed bag. After Dude Ranch was kind of like, yeah, I like this, but there's just so much I don't like next to it.
Yeah, it's like, what are they doing? I know tons of people loved Enema of the State and all that crap.
I played that a lot.
See, it was crap to me. It was so just and yeah, and that's back when I was seeing them like at the Warped Tour. They were there like every
back in
year.
Like the prime.
Oh yeah, back at like 2000 basically. Like right around there. But yeah, 1999, 2000, 98, 97. I think I went to all those Warped Tours. Yeah. And Blink was a huge part of them, along with like NoFX and some of the.
They were a huge part of everything. Like everything after Dude Ranch they were just gigantic.
Yeah, and as far as I know on this album, Travis is not a part of this album, right? I'm not.
There's only 3 people in the band.
No, they have a different drummer. Like this is something we should have educated ourselves on this. And
I just assumed it was the same 3. Are you?
I can look it up right now, yeah.
So you look that up, and I'm actually going to go into my one complaint with this album, and it's actually kind of a big complaint, and it's the same complaint I had about Neighborhoods, and I didn't even remember that I had this thought about Neighborhoods until I got 3/4 of the way through California, and I was like, oh yeah, I had the same problem. Is while it's more mature and they're doing great things musically, it's more focused. I mean, it really just is better music, or just. It's evolved really well. I felt like at a certain point, like I was just listening to the same song over and over again.
Right.
Like it's like they just start blurring together, and it's like every song, it's like the same, just kind of like rhythm, and the music's kind of the same, and the vocals are kind of, and it just like it's good, but it becomes grating to me to keep listening to it because it's just like I've listened to the same song for the last 27 minutes. I'm getting sick of it.
That makes sense. I mean,
did you get that at all? I mean, is that might just be me?
I totally got it.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's 100% of the reason, like why I have been so on and off.
Why
with
it's
band.
a solid album, but not a great album. This is kind of one of those reasons.
It's totally one of those reasons. Apparently, like DeLonge was the big reason this album didn't come out for a while. I'm reading that. Yeah, I can't.
Just run on to members. I know you're at the wiki.
I'm not at the. I'm at the album wiki like a fucking idiot.
What do you just look and see if the band members changed? I'm pretty sure it's the same 3.
Like, I know that Barker was gonna he's gonna tour on the album, but I thought he didn't write on it.
Okay.
I could be wrong. The drumming is, I mean, that's one thing with Blink-182 that never falters is the drumming.
Is like, because this is, so there are certain bands that I really do pay attention to, like different instruments, and just like I really get into whatever those parts, but Blink-182 is not really one of them. Is he just solid drummer? Is you saying?
Yeah, I mean, Travis Barker is just a solid drummer all the way around. And so I guess I kind of got everything switched up in my head, because Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker are current members of the band, and Tom DeLonge is not.
Oh,
so that's why we don't hear that annoying fucking voice on this fucking album, and it's fucking fantastic. So California is now officially the best album to come out. No,
there you go. It's got the crisp.
But they replaced him with Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio, and I have always been a pretty big Alkaline fan.
I don't even know if I've heard anything from them, so
they're great. I'll hook you up with some albums.
I'll just go to YouTube later. It's fine.
Well, you know what I mean. Like I'll point you in the right direction. Yeah.
So wait. So this is just to kind of derail for a second.
Yeah.
How do you ask people for new music?
What do you mean?
Well, so like, because every now and then I'm just like,
Okay, so your way of asking for new music is, hey, do you have any new music that you're listening to? And I'm like, well, yeah. And then I link you to like 5 bands or something, and you're like, cool. How do I do it? I don't ask anyone.
Well, no, but that's what I said. Like, okay, well then, so you don't ask anybody. It's, for me, like, I mean, sometimes I just go out and I'll Pandora something, or I'll just be like, what's new? Or just, I'll hear it somewhere. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I'll just look into it. But sometimes I just want to see what the people I'm near or know or talk to, just like, what are you guys listening to? Like, how do I go about doing that? Because I don't want to just be like, hey, what's a good band? And then they give me a band that's got 12 albums, and I'm like, one of the
things you're missing out on is that social media aspect of everything.
Hey, friend me on Twitter out there so I can listen to music.
Yeah, get this guy on Twitter and get him some bands. Like, seriously. Because he is not going to use Facebook in the way that we want him to use it.
I'm going to get 400 people just dumping bands at me now. And I'm like, no!
That's great. I hope it happens. So,
I don't know. So it's just
something you don't have to ask. Like, the way I do it and how I know people have run into bands that they enjoy through me is I will literally just post a song. Like, I randomly found a band called Defeater a couple of years ago, who's like a post-hardcore, really great band. Really vocal heavy, but like kind of focuses on that almost like in a Law Dispute kind of way, but not like, you know, Law Dispute is more like
that band word. That I don't like.
Yeah, I know you don't like them. They're fucking amazing. Shut up. They're more like spoken word over music, whereas this isn't really like that. It's a really heavy, like, hardcore voice over like music that's not just that heavy, you know.
Okay.
So I found them, and then I posted them, and now I have a couple friends that always talk to me about Defeater, and they never talked to me about this band before. You know, they were like, "Thank you for introducing me to them," you know, and I get thanked by a couple people online for introducing them to certain bands. Like, I've introduced a lot of people to Tool. You know, but
that's like, to you and me, that's like, it's crazy for me. Like, how do you have to be introduced to Tool? Like,
right, but you do, because they're so obscure and they don't get a lot of media attention because they don't want it.
Yeah, like, because I remember looking up something about them, and I always thought, because everybody I knew, like in high school, everybody I knew Tool. Like, that was just like, everybody I talked to knew Tool. I don't know what it was about just our little space in the world, or if you told everyone.
In our space, it was a lot of me telling everyone about Tool. And the one thing I had to do, I was like, just listen to this song. And I put on 46 and 2. And that bass, the bass line is one of the bass lines ever, one of the best bass lines ever made in music.
That's a good one.
And people are just like instantly like, oh my god, what is this? And where has it been all my life? You know, and so I really did introduce a lot of people, like in high school and middle school to Tool. Like, there was not a lot of people. I mean, I remember a girl named Christina in middle school. Her sister, Nicole, her older sister, she knew Tool, and I was like, she was one of the only older people that I knew that knew Tool, and I was like, oh, fuck, someone knows them. Okay, I'm not the only one.
It's not just me. Oh, yeah, no. Sorry, no, like, I just remembered more goofy stories from the past, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into, like, lot of these, as soon as we really start settling into this cast, we're gonna start telling stories like.
It's what happens. It's a podcast. You always end up with stories.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
But it was. But it's my Tool story. Yeah. Is in somewhere around when Anima was released. How do you pronounce it?
Anima.
It's
actually just Anima.
Anima. All right, cool.
People get that confused all the time.
I know.
They're always like Anima, and I'm like, you can call that if you want, but it's Anima.
Anima. Okay. I usually say Anima or Anima. But anyways, when that was new, I was listening to like Cranberries and Pixies, kind of like alt rock. I was in like straight alt rock land. We had a station in Denver for a few years that was all alt rock. Do you remember the Peak?
Oh god, it's a great 96.5 or whatever. It's a great station. Yeah.
That was like all I listened to. They were alt rock until the late '90s when they were like nu metal, and then they became a Spanish channel. But
yeah, and then it became Spanish. I was like, I just turned it on one day, and I was like, what happened to
listening to this? Yeah. But anyways, it was like I was listening to alt rock, and I remember this kid had like the eyeball on a shirt, and I'm like 6th grade, and this kid is just like, he's like, Tool's awesome, and I just distinctly remember being like, Tool sucks, had no idea, didn't know anything about Tool, hadn't heard anything about Tool, I was just blindly like, I like fucking Oasis, and like,
Oasis.
But I just remember this kid, he like loved it, he wore that shirt all the time, like this kid was so into Tool, and I kind of like, years later when I finally got into Tool, I kind of wanted to be like, hey man, you were right on with that, because I listen to that all the time now.
Because it's all I listen to.
It took me like 8 years to get there, but
but you got there, and that's what matters with this band. I mean, Tool is worldwide. Like, they're so huge. I mean, they sell out, 30,000 seat venues in a minute and a half, with no problem.
Right, but they don't have crazy album sales. This is the thing I was going to get to earlier. Is I remember looking up like their album sales, and it's like they're not crazy album
ridiculous,
sales.
Ridiculous, no.
Yeah, they're not bad by any means, but they're not
good. And this is one of the bands that you're not going to find on iTunes. You're not going to find in all these places.
Are they not on iTunes?
No, Maynard is very against. Not just Maynard. I think the whole band is very against being on iTunes specifically. And it's about how they work.
For a reason?
Yeah, there's a big reason. Okay. I just can't remember it.
Okay.
But they'll never be on there.
Till they die?
Ever. Yeah,
like
ever.
Fucking Prince.
They're going to have one more album, and that's going to be it.
Maybe?
Definitely. That's how the contract is written, and they're getting to an age where it's just like...
you never know.
They're dragging on this current album. I mean, we're over 10 years at this point since we've had new Tool.
Like, I remember reading something, and it was like there was just a bunch of stuff going on in their life that was just dragging them down.
Yeah, sure. That was like a year and a half ago. It came up in my memories of them having the lawsuit.
Yeah, the lawsuit thing was a huge...
Yeah, it was 2014. So, get your shit together, guys,
But it's also, I mean, like, when you've been just, like, crushed on our weight, it takes a while to get out from under it. So maybe they do this. Yeah, but maybe they do this, and they're like, yeah,
I think what they're really trying to do is just trying to make the best possible album they can because they know it's going to be their last one.
That would be cool. Because I was really unimpressed by 10,000 Days. Like,
but
really.
Can you say that was a bad album, though?
No, it's not a bad album. Like, that's...
Or is it just a bad album for Tool?
I don't even know if it's a bad album for Tool. For me, I just don't like it. Like, so I've gotten to a point where I really don't I try not to call things good or bad anymore because it's so subjective what people like in music.
Right.
For me, the way that I evolved in my life and the way they evolved their music was just two divergent paths, and it's 10,000 Days just was not what I wanted out of a Tool album.
Was there like a couple of songs on there that you can pick out that you're like, yeah, or was it just like no?
Like yeah, I like them. No, none of like.
There was a Zombie.
There was a period where I was listening to it, and I kind of liked the Two Wings songs. I was just like they were just kind of these weird like, but I just even that like I just don't like it. Like it just isn't. It doesn't connect with me at all. Like the whole album and like the lyrics I don't like, and it doesn't connect with me.
So I was kind of the opposite. I connected really well with it.
Okay,
but it still ranks as pretty much the weakest album that they've released.
Aside from like Opiate or something.
I mean, Opiate's fucking great.
It's really just
short.
It's short.
It's too short. It's a little EP.
So no, so you're really gonna put it like on the
It's
lowest
right
end
there.
of the Tool spectrum.
Well, it's
Of the
right
Tool
there.
spectrum.
It matches Opiate for me.
Okay, all right.
You know, there's some songs that I really connect with, like Zombie, the 10,000 Days Wings for Marie duo. You know, those two songs.
They were
amazing.
cool songs. I don't know.
I really enjoy Vicarious. I thought it worked super well, and especially with what was happening in the country at the time. Like, that was one band that was making a political statement that actually that wasn't blatantly in your face political. It was just like, quit being dumb fucking sheep and paying attention on the stupid media. Like, you're living vicariously through all this garbage. Like, go your own path, you know.
But it was such an unoriginal idea, though. Like, that's
sure, but the way they presented it, I thought was really well done. So,
okay.
I mean, this is all subjective as shit.
Yeah, it's music, it's art.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Tool goes, there just came out with, like, a rumored, some guy on Reddit was like, I have from a very good source, the album is going to be called Decem, D-E-C-E-M. And it was going to be a double album, and every song on it was over 12 minutes, as just like Buzz stated after he talked to Adam Jones.
Okay.
Buzz is from the Melvins, who they're very good friends with. It's a great sludge rock band. You really should listen to them.
I know they exist. I've seen stuff for them.
Yeah, so Buzz talked to Adam,
Buzz talked to Album.
He talked to Adam, and
really one-sided.
And he said on in media that there isn't a song that's under 12 minutes long, and I think that's interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna love that if that is the case, but in this little thing where the guy put he listed all the tracks, and it kind of got me for a little bit. And the only reason it got me was because they didn't deny it for a while. Like, there was days before it was denied. Like, back when, I think Lateralis was coming out, maybe it could have been 10,000 Days, but System, man, so I'm not going to know how to say this at all.
Digging deep.
But Tool, I think, made a joke about what the album name was going to be and what the songs were going to be named. And it was called Sistema, like, Anencephale.
I think this was a 10,000 Days thing, because I wasn't around for Lateralis. Like, I got into Tool after Lateralis came out. But I remember, like, 10,000 Days, there was a whole, like, a fake album that came out, and there was, like, weird names for stuff.
That was supposedly them that did that, I believe. Okay. I believe it was them. And it was just a joke, and, they were just trying to get people riled up, and they totally did it.
It worked.
It worked very well.
I remember.
And then, shortly after, it was the album released. Well, this news came up on Reddit, as I said, and it kind of, like, a lot of it, like, didn't make sense, and a lot of it did. Like, would Tool name songs these titles?
It made enough sense that you were like, well,
but
maybe.
The reason like I said before, is that they didn't deny the fucking thing, and I'm like, when are they going to deny it? And as soon as I started really questioning that, Maynard responded to a Twitter question. Someone was kind of like asked, like, is this going to be the new album or whatever? And he just put #dumb. So we all know Maynard's a prick, and he admits to being a prick now. Like, he's finally figured it out. He's an asshole. Even though we all knew he knew the whole time. But that's him basically debunking the idea. And this is why I love Tool theory, and, like, people theorize on this band so much. Like, you can't stop it. Like, it's just like, I need to know what's going on with Tool. Like, people are freaking out because they love this band. There's, like, such an attraction.
It's like a band that, I don't want to say mythos, but there's, like, a depth to them beyond just the music. Like, the community, and just, like the artwork that they bring in, like, so much of what they do, there's just this mystique. I'm going to go with mystique to the band.
Mystique is a good word. And
that's just so engaging to, like...
And it's one of those things where you can go to their concert, and you're going to see a 12-year-old, and you're going to see a 65-year-old. And they both love it.
And they're going to be having a great time.
Yeah. And, that's just how it works with Tool. Like, that's the one thing where... in other bands where I go to see their shows, say like Coheed and Cambria or Thrice or something, where there's very much a demographic.
Oh yeah, no, there's like most bands. I would say almost like most bands have a demographic.
Exactly. So Tool doesn't have that. They kind of span everywhere.
It's kind of, like, because they get metalheads, they get people that like prog rock. They get people that like crazy lyrics. They get people that like space sounds. They get people that like cool art.
Maynard's vocals.
They like people that like different types of vocals, and they're like it's such an all encompassing band that somehow manages to work. Mm-hmm. And it brings in so many people.
Not many bands can do that. That's one thing you can say about them for sure.
Not many bands even try to do that.
Exactly. Music. You like a band called Orbs.
I do.
So I've tried listening to them. Let me just preface this with I've tried, and it's okay. I enjoy it, but it's not like anything that I need to. Like I go I'll listen to it, and then I'm like, okay, that was fun listening to that. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, I need to listen to Orbs. Compared to like where bands that I love.
And it's just kind of like, I mean, thinking about things that you brought up, like with Blink-182, you don't like Tom DeLonge, you don't like his voice. The lead singer in Orbs has a similar kind of nasally voice. I remember when their first album came out, or just after their first album came out, when I first got into them, and I was like, oh, listen to this band, and you were like, what is this, like, vocals? Like, you specifically keyed in on the vocals, like, immediately. And I was just like, and even for me, I kind of didn't like those vocals on the previous band that the singer had worked in, which was Fear Before the March of Flames.
Okay, so hold on. But Fear Before the March of Flames had such promise besides the vocals. The vocals were fucking garbage, in my opinion, but the band was amazing. And I'm like, what are you doing to me here?
Well, the lead singer in Orbs was actually backing vocals in Fear Before.
Okay.
Just so you know that. Yeah. And but still, so I liked everything about Fear Before. That was actually like a band that just, I saw them in like some more memories. Me and a friend were just walking around downtown Denver, like doing nothing in high school.
Yeah.
And right at the end, like the last 3 songs of their set, we were walking past some place, and they were just like, hey, the bouncer was just like, hey, you want to come see these guys? Like, yeah, sure. Like, they didn't charge us anything. It's just like, fucking, just go watch them. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And it was like their first album, so it was like really old Fear Before. And then I just completely forgot about them.
Were they not? I thought Fear Before was from Denver.
Yes. They're from like Aurora. They're like from here.
Oh, literally where we are right now?
Yeah, they're like, okay. Like now that we've pinpointed this, everyone's coming. But, so they are definitely like Denver native.
Okay.
So I got into Fear Before, and then I was like doing wiki stuff, and I was like, oh, what is this Orbs band? And then I got into Orbs. I loved Orbs. Their first album was amazing. The whole reason we're talking about Orbs right now is because they just had a second album release.
What's it called?
5 days ago? Past Life Regression.
I like the name.
Yeah, they do. If you look at the lyrics, like if you're into,
I did notice. I have noticed that.
Like coming from Tool, if you really sit down and just like think about the structures of the music and the sounds that they're making and the lyrics, like there was an interview before the thing came out, before this Past Life Regression came out, where they were asking Dan Briggs, who's the guitarist, who's also Between the Buried and Me is his big band.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were asking him about like the music, the writing process, and like, oh yeah, we share and we talk about things. And
hold on, sorry to interrupt you. What's the female? There's a female.
Ashley Elilon.
She was in
Cradle of Filth.
And oh man,
Abigail Williams, I think was the other one.
Never heard Abigail Williams, but I hated Cradle of Filth. Like that's just like, yeah, that was the pit of music for me. Like they were right next to, and don't be offended anyone, but I don't really care. They were right next to like ICP for me. You know what I mean? As far as like,
that's rough.
As far as like not being music, just like what the fuck is this?
What are magnets? Yeah, that was.
What are magnets?
That's pretty.
Was that the greatest troll ever done, or were they really questioning that?
I feel like they were really like, how do magnets work? Which okay. I mean, do you know how magnets work? I mean, to some extent, it's a legitimate question, but at the same time, they presented it.
Shut up.
They presented it the worst possible way. But anyways, keeping magnets behind. Yeah, Ashley Elilon, Dan Briggs, and now that we've said the other two, I cannot remember the vocalist's name. But they were talking in an interview how the writing process goes for this, and they were like, yeah, we talk about the drums and the keyboards, and like everybody kind of shares and goes back and forth. And then they were like, yeah, so what about the lyrics? And it's like, oh no, the guy that writes the lyrics, that's just his own thing. And they're fucking crazy. I love them. They're exactly the sort of like abstract, just insane lyrics that I love.
Right.
And like the album they just released, it's got the lyrics and the music and stuff. It's definitely a way tighter, more focused album.
Right.
Like they had.
That's what I noticed from like the 2 tracks I listened to.
And it's like, but for me, like I really like the album. I do enjoy it, but I think I still like the first album way more because like the highs and lows of the first album for me are just so much higher than on the new album. But I still really like this album. Seriously, go check out Past Life Regression. It just came out. It's really good. I like it.
Yeah. 2 other bands we can quickly bring up. Just a note on one band at the drive-in.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite bands of all time. They broke up and created the Mars Volta and Sparta, which no one really cared about. But they created Mars Volta, and Omar Rodriguez, Lopez or whatever, he went on to do a lot of side projects.
Okay.
But they kind of reunionized, and they said they were making an LP. Did I make that word up? I think I just made a word up.
I don't know.
Whatever. But they have said officially that they're putting out an LP, so yay for that. And then another band I want to talk. We might have common ground on this. I don't know. Were you ever a Chevelle fan?
Which one did they do? Yes, I know I was.
So early on, they did like Point Number 1.
Yeah, so they did Point Number, and then what was the something Seeing Red?
Seeing Red.
Red. I don't care. No, it was like I think it was their first 3 albums. They had a handful of singles I really liked, and there was a moment when I really got into them.
Yeah.
And then I just they had like a 4th album, and I was like, I don't really care about this.
So it's kind of like the Deftones problem. Like,
well, that's more.
They
of a
started
problem for
off
you
great, and then oh my god, they went to trash, and then they're kind of like Gore is okay.
That's because I told you to listen to Gore, and it's
okay.
I don't know. So this is another thing where we diverge because I actually like
the path that they took.
With the exception of Saturday Night Wrist, I like.
Oh god.
I like the path that they've taken. That was a rough album.
So it just boggled my fucking mind because they put out White Pony. And by the way, guys, we're talking about Deftones right now.
Yeah,
we're derailed from Chevelle.
Yeah,
we'll go back. But they put out, in my opinion, one of the top 10 albums in my lifetime, White Pony.
It's pretty great, and it holds up pretty well. I listened to it recently.
I listened to it recently as well. I added it to my phone, and I was listening to it while playing basketball, and it was fucking awesome. I was like, I love this band so much. What happened? And, like, next thing I hear news, lately is fucking Chino, the singer, is fucking in a volcano in Iceland playing music for people. Like, that's something that actually happened recently.
Alright, that sounds cool.
He, like, went to Iceland and he was like, the fucking acoustics in a volcano are gonna be amazing. He played Red Rocks a couple of times. He's like, wonder what a volcano is like an active one. Like, let's go, guys. And they took a chunk of people down there and they loved it, apparently. Cool. It's just a band that doesn't work for me anymore.
So they are to you what kind of Tool is to me, except Tool hasn't had nearly as many releases for me to base my divergence on.
These guys release music every other year. Unfortunately, Chi, one of their band members, passed away.
Bassist?
Yeah, the bassist. Okay. He was in a coma for a long time. They were keeping him alive.
And there was a huge hiatus in albums during that too.
Oh yeah. But they still, they hopped on the wagon like right after he passed, like pretty quickly, and we're like, let's make music, like let's do what we love doing, and I give them a lot of props for it. They put out what I call just like noise rock, and like their noise rock actually is a genre.
It is very droney. I will give you
but
absolutely.
Droney is a much better thing for me, and I'm just like, oh, you're just fucking droning on. I have to say, I've seen Deftones live twice, and they're awful. They're fucking awful.
You saw
live.
a million years ago twice.
It wasn't a million years ago, but
it's in internet time. It was basically the dawn of time. So
it was after White Pony. I saw them once.
Well, yeah, so that's like we didn't even have YouTube back then.
This is like 2005, 2006. So whatever. I mean,
but yeah,
it doesn't really matter. I mean,
but yeah, you just don't.
If you're not good live, I'm really gonna dismiss you pretty quickly.
And and so and this is a thing that we've discussed kind of offline before a little bit, was you have a really big connection to bands and their live shows.
Yes.
Live music is almost non-existent to me. Like, I've been to a handful of concerts.
So much,
like I primarily engage with music through just listening to it like locally through headphones or through like movies or games or something.
Yeah,
like,
there was one summer where we hung out like a lot. We did a lot of bowling. We bowled our asses off and drank beer. And
we bowled a lot. Why the?
It was something to do. It was actually fun.
Like, no, it was good.
And there was pictures of beer. Like, I'm gonna play. Yeah, that's what I did. So. We did that, but then it was like, well, we need to expand on this a little. And I was like, let's go to some shows. And you were like, what? And that's when we found some really cool shit.
You took me to one show. I went to one show.
No, we went to two.
Two?
Yeah, we went to No Fair Fights because we went to the
Battle was that crazy summer when I actually saw music. Yeah, so it was the one summer when I saw music.
You apparently saw a lot of shit this
Battle
summer.
of the Bands, like, because I went there once with you, and then I went there once or twice with other people.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just but it was, no, I think, yeah, it was just one time with you. I don't remember.
We went there once.
Yeah, so
we
you and me went there once.
It blew me away.
We saw No Fair Fights. It was fantastic. We saw another band that had a lot of promise and never did anything.
Yep.
We saw, and then we saw Thursday was the other show.
Oh, you went to Thursday? That's right, because someone in my group canceled out of a Thursday show, and I was like, Dan would like to go see a show, and I called you, and you're like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm up for anything. I just never see.
And that Thursday show was the show where I met Jeff Rickley, the lead singer.
Yeah.
He walked up behind me.
Well, no, so it was a really... I'm totally going to throw you under the bus.
I want to hear your perspective.
I'm going to throw you under the bus on this one a little bit.
Go for it.
Post-show, we were hanging out forever afterwards. Like, everybody else left.
Well, I was waiting for the merch line to die down.
Yeah, and
I wanted merch.
Yeah, so we were just sitting there, and there was nobody there, and it was getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and then Jeff comes out. I think a couple of band members came out.
Well, one band member was like by the stage, and he was just sitting on the edge of the stage, and there was like people surrounding him, and I didn't want to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned around back to the merch table and just stood there.
Well, no, but there was somebody that wasn't, they weren't even surrounded. There was somebody in the band that had like one or two people around at one point, and you totally were like starstruck, giddy, like, I really want to go talk to him, but I kind of just don't want to go over there. Yeah, you were like
that me,
super
really? I don't
timid.
remember that part.
You were super timid about it, and then he just like came in our direction, or like Jeff showed up behind, and you were just,
he literally walked up behind us.
He was just
I looked over and saw my girlfriend at the time. I saw her face like kind of get all big. She was a very big Thursday fan as well.
Yeah. And
I was like, "What are you looking at?" I turned around and freaking Jeff Rickley, the lead singer of the band, who. You know, this guy he produced My Chemical Romance's first album. They're a band that I love. But anyways, yeah, I mean, he's one of my idols, and he's fucking right behind me, and I went just like, I fanboyed the fuck out, but like, I gave him a handshake, and he saw my Thursday tattoo on my right arm. I'm showing you right now with the podcast, can't see it.
Yep. Hey everybody, look at this.
And he was just like, nice tattoo. And I was like, thank you. Like, your music means a lot to me. Like, it's really helped me through hard times. Which is kind of like the basic thing you fucking say to bands when you meet them, but it doesn't matter. Like, I got to meet Jeff Rickley, and he was amazing. And after that, at a different show, I met the rest of the band. Cool. Jeff Rickley. So he wasn't in the group, but I just like walked. It was a Thursday concert, and I walked out. I still smoked cigarettes at the time, and I was, we listened to one opening band, and I told my friend, I was like, I'm gonna go have a cigarette. Like, I don't care, whatever.
I'm smoking.
I walk out and I look over, and the entire band is right there, and there's people just walking by, not even noticing.
No idea,
They're in a circle, like their own personal circle, like talking, and no one is like walking up, like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" Like, I don't know if I was just such a fanboy that I knew all of them, and I went up.
Because I wouldn't even know. Like, I don't even know what people in bands I listen to look like, because it's such a thing I just don't do.
See, and I'm that live. I love that live aspect of music, and so I went up to him and introduced myself to all of them, and I incorrectly named the drummer as the drummer of Thrice, who they were very good friends with. And they were like, "Yeah, it's all right." Like, they all laughed at me. Like, it was a big fucking thing, and I felt so embarrassed.
Right,
dude.
like, they just blew it off, and you were just like,
and I was just like, I've crushed the world around me. And, they were just like, "Don't worry, they're a great band also." Like, it's flattering, if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the story of meeting Jeff Rickley. What were we doing with that?
I don't even remember. We started with Orbs, and then we went
Oh shit!
from there. Yeah,
Chevelle. So they have a new album they put out. Oh my god! They have a new album they put out on July 8th.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was out until like a week ago.
Uh-huh.
It's called The North Corridor, and it's fucking super solid.
Is it?
It's a very solid album. They kind of come back a little bit because I felt that they did stumble as well, you did.
Yeah, like the further along that I got with them, I was just like,
they started stumbling
disconnecting
big time,
from
and
this. It was
really
super
disconnected
divergent from
it as
what I wanted to do.
Exactly, and I would listen to a song or two from each new album and be like, nope, it's not working. What are they doing? This time, I listened to it and I was just like, man, like I'm in. Like,
okay, yeah, so
they're something I highly recommend to everyone. Check it out. It's really fucking good.
Would you say, is it a like return to rootsy kind of thing?
No, not
or
really.
Is it just a solid?
It's a return to like the second or third album type of music. I'd say.
So roots almost, but not
almost. I mean, like point number one was really like they were really kind of like trying to almost copy like Toolish type stuff.
Like it was kind of rough and all over the place. And
yeah, but his vocals really mirrored Maynard.
Okay,
like they really did. If you listen, just everyone go look up Chevelle and look up the song Point Number One, and he really sounds like Maynard from Tool, or he's trying to mimic that almost.
Okay.
Maybe in a flattering way, but it was, I loved it right away. I was just like, I like this.
Well, no, I mean, I like...
And then I think I introduced them to you. I was like, you should listen to this. Yeah.
So...
Because I knew Point Number One, like, right away when no one else knew who the fuck they were.
I don't know what their second album was. But that was the
I don't
one...
remember the name.
Like, whatever their second album was, whatever the singles were off of that were things back... Like, I was still listening to the radio at that point in time. Which I fucking don't do at all now.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah, and, like... I remember, like, liking their singles. I remember liking the singles off their second album. I remember liking singles off their third album. And I want to say it was somewhere after their third album. I actually just got into them on my own. I was just like, I really like these. And I looked up some stuff and I picked up their albums. And I was like, oh, it's Point Number One. This is great. And I don't even remember. I don't think I ever heard their first album stuff until that later point when I finally got into them. But as far as I remember, it was just a thing that I just slowly got into them through all their singles. And it was just when I decided to listen to the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I had some friends where I was just like, you need to listen to this. Like, they sound like Toolish. Like, the music was not on par at all.
Nothing's ever gonna...
It was almost like Deftone. Like,
okay.
In a
like
way.
Like really Deftone?
Yeah.
It's still got it's musical, it's metally.
Yeah.
But it's not... It doesn't get encumbered by either of those things.
Exactly. Yeah. It really doesn't get encumbered. The last thing we're going to touch on real quick, because we are going to end this.
Yeah,
we've gone on for a while. Maynard, just in case you're interested, I don't know, I'm clearly interested because Tool is my favorite band of all time.
If you like Chris, check out this other thing.
Maynard James Keenan from Tool, he has an official autobiography coming out November 8th. And
let's write the book, yeah.
Yeah. And it's called A Perfect Union of Contrary Things. And apparently his ghostwriter, whatever you call them, the person that basically writes for them. I guess co-writer.
Well, so auto means you wrote it, right?
Auto means it's about you.
Oh, well then it's just a writer.
I think auto. I don't fucking know. Like, let's not go down this path. I can't remember anything right now.
It's been a while since high school
English. Because we're like, it's hard because we're like put on the spot, so it's like, and then you can't remember something and it sucks.
And the second we stop recording, you're going to be like, oh, it's this.
Yeah, exactly. The second, I'm going to be like, hey, yeah. But it's all about Maynard, and apparently it goes pretty deep into his life, and apparently it's very, very well made.
Cool.
So November 8th, we have that to look forward to. The Tool album was debunked apparently by Maynard, and
it is in development, right?
It's definitely in development.
Not development. What the hell do you call an album? Is it development?
It's in development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's different stages, and we really don't know what stage they're truly at. They really don't talk about it.
It's coming. We don't know.
It's coming. I really think it's going to come before the end of the year. They are doing 5 shows only in around the October-ish area, and I'm going to one of them, so it's going to be awesome.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's really, I think we're going to get the album around then, but that's about all I know. And It'd be hilarious if it was called DSEM and all these songs were exactly what
no, yeah,
it is.
like, I was going to say earlier, like, because you brought up the ploy that they did, or the thing that everybody believes that they did with 10,000 Days.
Yeah.
This totally sounds like a thing that they...
Because he didn't...
Like, it got posted, and the reason...
He still didn't deny it. He still just said #dumb.
Yeah, that's not...
Which is like... Is he saying, like, are you dumb for, like, believing this, or...
Dumb for not believing it.
Exactly. Like, Maynard's such a... This band has mystique, and the mystique of this band is why we're all lured to them, like we are.
And it's so... Because they don't put out news, and because they aren't as open about things, just, like, especially in the world we live in now, where everybody's open about a lot of things. It's
a little too open.
It's super engaging to just be like, oh, like, this thing, you can build a whole narrative in your head around this band.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll keep up to date with everyone on that.
You'll keep up to date. I'm less inclined.
Yeah, whatever. I will definitely... I won't shut up about it when it comes out, so we're going to hear about it. With that said, we are going to end this episode of the show now. And we had a good time, guys. We hope you had a fun time listening.
Yeah, Come talk to us. Send us talk to us on Facebook. Talk to us on Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter. I'm gonna make a Facebook page for the podcast very soon. A group, yeah. So people can go there and ask questions specifically. You can.
So we can ask you questions as well. Like,
come
interact with us.
Yeah, we really want to interact with you. I do have some people interacting with me personally on my personal Facebook, but that's because that's where I'm really advertising.
That's where you're at. Yeah. So.
Exactly. So, where can they find you on Twitter?
So, I can be found at xthodan, which is XTHODAN, on Twitter.
And you can find me at Tracker Undertow. It's TRACKER under UNDERTOW. It's surprising how many people think that's just ridiculous and they don't know. Like, I'm like, have you never heard the word Undertow? Like, not just that it's a Tool album, but have you really never heard the word Undertow? Give me a break. So people are like, what are you saying whenever I tell them?
They didn't play Half-Life, so...
They didn't play Half-Life, exactly. So you can find me at Tracker Undertow, and that's going to be it, folks. We will talk to you next week.
Yeah, see you next time.
Have a good one.